Welcome learners. We will discuss the holistic health model part 2, where we will understand the application of the Panchakoshas to our well-being. We will discuss the application of the Panchakosha model to design holistic, well-rounded wellness practices. We will also identify matched techniques that are asanas, pranayama, meditations for each kosha. We will understand the IAYT framework, the integrated approach to yoga therapy, which may be applied to clinical settings. And finally, we will also understand how to design a daily routine that addresses all the Panchakoshas across the single day. Therefore, we will turn the Panchakosha map into a daily practice through asanas, breath control, mind control, reflection and containment. We will transform the Panchakosha model into a complete approach to modern well-being. We must move from theory to practice. It is essential that the philosophy of the Panchakosha theory should be practiced in our modern life for holistic health. Yogic thought holds that ill-being arises from imbalances at one or more of the koshas or sheaths of human existence. Therefore, true wellness is not the fitness of the body alone, but harmony sustained across all 5 sheaths or layers of existence. If we focus on the physical aspects alone, then we are addressing the Annamaya Kosha or the body alone. It may help improve fitness, but other ailments such as stress, restlessness, or disconnection remain untouched, which can further risk physical imbalances. Therefore, for a holistic well-being, it is important to follow the Panchakosha integrated approach, where each of the sheaths are matched to specific practices. This helps build resilience at the levels of the outer body, but also to the inner sheaths through breath, mind, intellect, and inner peace. This supports well-being that is sustained and not merely symptomatic, which means it supports holistic health. We can talk about the integrated approach to yoga therapy, that is IAYT, which was developed by the Swami Vivekananda Yog Anusandhan Samsthan, Bangalore. The integrated approach to yoga therapy treats disease and distresses as imbalances across the Panchakoshas and matches the techniques to each levels or each kosha. Therefore, the assessment is to identify imbalances across the 5 koshas so that we can restore harmony and well-being across our overall being. It includes addressing through asanas for the Annamaya Kosha, pranayama for the Pranamaya Kosha, meditation for the Manomaya Kosha, swadhyaya for the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and contentment or santosha for the Anandamaya Kosha. Together, this helps in the restoration of harmony, and the outcome is the holistic health and well-being. To start with, the nurturing of the physical or the Annamaya Kosha. Patanjali defines asanas as simple, steady, comfortable postures the Sthira Sukham Asana. It is the physical starting point for all subtler practice. It includes standing poses for strength, balance, postural alignment, seated poses for hip and spinal flexibility for meditation, prone and supine poses to release tension, aid digestion, inverted poses that supports circulation and perspective, and together these asanas cultivates the present body awareness, a foundation for the subtler quotients. Therefore, through the practice of asanas or the postures for stability, flexibility and organ tone, we can nurture the Annamaya quotient. Additionally, the Shatakarmas or yogic cleansing to remove toxins is very important, and this can be regulated through mitahara or a sattvic, balanced and moderate diet. Classical yogic thought classifies food, that is anna, through its effect on the mind into three qualities or gunas. These are sattvic, which are fresh, mild and nourishing food which can support vitality and calm the mind. Rajasic, which are bitter, sour, salty or spicy food which overstimulates the senses. And tamasic, which are stale, heavy or overprocessed foods which dulls our awareness. These diet or the balanced food is essential for nurturing the Annamaya. Through sattvic foods such as fresh fruit, vegetable, whole grains and milk, we can have a clear, steady and contentment effect on the mind. Similarly, balancing our energies is also important for the Pranamaya kosha. Pranayama is defined as the deliberate regulation of the incoming and outgoing breath. It is the primary tool for working directly with the Pranamaya kosha. It includes practices such as Nadi Shodhana, that is alternate nostril breathing to balance the system, Bhramari, that is humming bee breath to calm the nervous system, and Ujjayi, that is gentle throat constricted breath for steady focus. Together, these pranayamas help to slow and steady respiration, calm the autonomic nervous system and serves as the practical bridge between the physical body and the mind, that is the pranamaya or the energy or the subtle body quotient. Through practices such as prana awareness, nadi shodhana and bhramari, we can avoid burnout, we can balance our left and right hemispheres, we can calm our nervous systems and help balance the vital energies of our bodies. For this purpose, bandha and mudra are directly essential for energy control. Bandhas are energy locks and mudras are gestures which are subtle techniques believed to direct and contain the flow of prana traditionally introduced through breath awareness. Bandhas and mudras can help direct our energy, which will lead to balancing of the pranamaya kosha. Next, we focus on the manomaya kosha for our emotional clarity. It is mainly sustained through dhyana, that is unbroken contemplation on a single object. It is the yogic practice through which we can directly engage with the manomaya kosha. Focused attention, mantra japa and mindfulness engages the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system, which gradually helps reduce habitual thought patterns, sustained attention and also supports the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Therefore, for the Manomaya Kosha, practices such as Pratyahara, that is sensory withdrawal to the rest of the overstimulated mind, Bhakti Yoga, that is cultivation of positive emotions through devotion and chanting, Yamas and Niyamas, that is ethical guidelines to prevent internal and psychological conflict, and Dhyana becomes important tools for balancing our mind and emotional clarity. Also, for the Manomaya Kosh, we can focus on Yoga Nidra or yogic sleep, which is a structured, guided practice of systematic relaxation performed lying in Savasana while moving consciously between wakefulness and sleep. This guided rotation of awareness through the body and the conscious relaxation of physical and mental tension helps improve the subjective sleep quality. It helps reduce our perceived stress and anxiety. And there is growing evidence that suggests it not only balances the Manomaya Kosha, but it creates a stable base throughout the body through which we can access the seated positions of higher spiritual meditation. Next, we can talk about strengthening our intellect, that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The practice of Swadhyaya or self-study or contemplation is one of the 5 niyamas of Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. It trains the buddhi, the discriminating intellect, and works directly on the Vijnanamaya Kosh. Through the cultivation of Viveka, discernment, we engage in structured self-observation, that is, noticing one's own patterns without judgment. The dialogue with a teacher or wise companion, that is satsanga, to test one's understanding also helps for the Jnanamaya Kosha, and also practiced consistently, it sharpens the capacity to distinguish the lasting, the eternal from the passing or the temporary. Therefore, for the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the practice of Swadhyaya or self-study, the practice of satsanga or seeking the company of wisdom or intellectual individuals, and the practice of discernment, that is Viveka, choosing the Shreyas over the Prayas, helps us balance the intellectual. If we can engage in simple prompts such as what pattern or thought or reaction did I notice today, or where did I act from subconscious mind today, what was the most valued decisions for me today, these reflective questions to one's self through the practice of journaling can also help in the strengthening of the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And finally, the essence of bliss, the Anandamaya Kosha, is best balanced through the practice of Santosha or contentment. It is a niyama in its own right. The practice most directly oriented towards the Anandamaya Kosha, the sheath of stillness, peace and inner bliss. This practice is conducive to inner peace, a brief daily gratitude practice, that is, naming what is already sufficient for us. The practice of bhakti or devotional practices that dissolves the ego or self-preoccupation, and sustained meditative absorption or dhyana can help us achieve inner peace and the essence of bliss of the Anandamaya Kosha. Therefore, mechanisms such as seva, selfless service, dhyana, regular sustained meditation, and Mona, that is silence, allows us to build internal bliss. If we are to make an wellness audit, then it is clear that simple actions can help us achieve wellness through the Panchakosha. Say for example, a 30-minute asana daily practice can help balance the Annamaya Kosha. A 10 to 15-minute pranayama or Nadi Shodhana practice can help us balance the Pranamaya Kosha. A simple 5-minute sensory detox through Mona can help us balance the Manomaya Kosha. The nightly journaling routine of self-contemplation or Swadhyaya can help us balance the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and the practice of containment or Santosha can help us balance the Anandamaya Kosha. These in turn can also help in stress management. Say for example, stress or mental agitation begins from the Manomaya Kosha. The practice of pranayama and breathing techniques help us relieve these blockages. Once we relieve these blockages, then the chronic diseases in the Annamaya Kosha are also resolved. That is, through the alignment, the yogic sciences fixes the root causes of our ailments, starting from the grossest layer to the subtlest layer. Similarly, the Yoga Chikitsa or the holistic health protocol is the traditional therapy that typically addresses the symptoms, not in isolation but as a multidimensional intervention. The asanas are prescribed to specifically stimulate and rejuvenate the affected organs. The pranayama is designed to regulate our vital energies and restore systemic balance. And meditation helps us to target and identify and resolve the underlying mental root causes of Vyadhi. Therefore, clinical structured applications of the Panchakosha can help us manage modern ailments like diabetes, hypertension, anxiety, and stress disorder, which are mostly modern ailments. Therefore, starting from the mind, we can focus inward, and the practice of yoga can translate into inner peace and also resolving our physical ailments. Before we start practicing yoga, we are mostly distracted and our mind is cluttered. Only with 1 month of the practice of yoga, we can find more awareness and more stillness of our mind. And within 6 months to 1 year of regular practice of the yogic practices, we can find sthiti or steady focus, which is also the balance of our innermost self. Not only this, the yoga practices also helps us balance our emotional quotient, our emotional intelligence, which is the outcome of a refined Manomaya Kosha. Through self-awareness, through self-regulation, through empathy and the social skills, we can regulate and balance the Manomaya Kosha, therefore also developing our emotional intelligence. Finally, the application of these Panchakoshas can be structured within our day-to-day life simply through our daily activities. In the morning, we can practice asana after waking so that we align our body and mind. In the mid-morning, we can practice pranayama techniques to steady our breath and revitalize our energies. In the midday, we can simply practice a mindful pause to settle and calm the mind. In the evening, we can practice swadhyaya or journaling, which is a few lines of self-contemplation. And at night, we can practice gratitude and meditation before sleep, which can help in bliss and contentment. Therefore, simple asanas or the physical grounding exercises, simple energy regulation or breath exercises, that is Nadi Shodhan, and simple nighttime journaling help us in cognitive release. These simple practices can improve wellness, can improve sleep quality, and can reduce stress management by up to 60%, which can further help us reduce chronic diseases such as insomnia, hypertension, and anxiety. Such yogic practices also help us in formulating holistic wellness for learners and professionals. Having an ergonomic support setup during our work activity, taking micro breaks to revitalize our energies, and the consumption of sattvic food for our diet and snacks can help revitalize energy and move forward for holistic wellness for learners and professionals. The practice of the Panchakosha and applying the theory to our day-to-day life helps nurture our holistic self. Through the practices of asanas, we can stabilize the body, purify the tissues, and strengthen the biological foundations, that is the Annamaya Kosha or the physical sheath. Through the practices of pranayama, we can regulate the breath to harmonize life forces, vital energies, and emotional vitality, that is the balancing of the pranamaya kosh or the energy sheath. Through the practice of dharana, we can engage in concentration and sensory withdrawal to rest our busy and cluttered mind and achieve clarity, that is the manomaya kosha or mental sheath. Through the practice of viveka, discernment, or the developing of discernment to transcend the ego-led habits and tapping into higher intuitions, we can balance the Vijnanamaya Kosha or the wisdom sheath. And finally, through samadhi and santosha or contentment, we can engage in total absorption in peace through meditation and selfless service, that is seva, through which we can balance the Anandamaya Kosh or bliss sheath. Therefore, when every kosh is nurtured, the true light of wellness radiates from within. Finally, this holistic health model can be concluded by summarizing the wellness journey through a multidimensional journey of the Panchakoshas into practical application and nurturing, where each sheath, layer or kosha requires specific nurturing such as asana, prana, dharana, viveka, and santosha. These alignment of the koshas lead to the realization of our innate bliss, and also the translation of these practices in our day-to-day lives. The small daily shifts in awareness and activities help create massive impact on health and wellness. Therefore, to conclude, we can say that across all the 5 koshas, the body, the breath, the mind, the intellect, and the inner bliss, when we match these with practices such as asana, pranayama, meditation, swadhyaya, and santosha, it helps us cultivate holistic, integrated well-being. Together, these offer a complete evidence-based roadmap for holistic well-being for the modern professional and individuals across the globe. Thank you.